Let's go to YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Let's go to my channel, The Spiritual Fish Lad. Oh my god, 71 subscribers? That's amazing. I guess I should do a subscriber special. But what could I possibly do? Let's watch some of my other videos to get inspiration. A fish cast return, number 16. Oh, this is nice, but I can't just do one of these for my special. Oh, wait, what's this? What's this? This tank is heavily stocked. Ooh, an explanation on how to keep an overstocked fish tank, but just a description. I should make a video like that. That would be a great idea. Wow, this is the lamest intro ever. And look, let's go to Isopod and Fish Tank Update, and let's click on the end for no reason, where I talk about upcoming videos. Oh my god, look. How to keep an overstocked tank. Well, looks like we know what we're doing today. We're gonna talk about... that was the worst intro I've ever made, but it was funny, right? Right? Everyone's laughing? No? Okay, well, today we're gonna talk about how to keep an overstocked fish tank successfully. So pretty much, you got your... There's a sort of main set of rules. Let's just kind of look at our core as I talk about this. Basically, this is not a guaranteed guide that will work in every situation, because the first two major points that matter before we even get into any of the actual, tips for keeping an overstocked tank are you need to look at the size of your tank and the fish you're getting, okay? You can't put 10 goldfish in a 5-gallon. No matter what you do, that's not going to work, okay? This tank works because I have tetras and cories, fish that don't get very big and don't need very big spaces, and relatively speaking enjoy being cramped to an extent. That's why this works so well, because these fish don't get very big, they can live in these small spaces, and they don't mind being around a lot of each other. They're not that aggressive to each other, whereas, say, if I had like a beta sorority, I don't know much about beta sororities, but I'm pretty sure if you had like 10 female betas in here, you'd probably get some issues, and of course males you couldn't do because they fight. So that's kind of your first thing, is you need fish that will actually be able to thrive in an overstocked environment. And then once you've figured that out, so you've picked out some tetras, some cories, fish that all work together, you get them in your tank and you're like, okay, I don't have enough fish, oh, I only have one neon tetra, I gotta get more, but oh no, I already have 9 fish, what will I do? Well, it's very simple. There's sort of 3 things you need to do to allow your tank to be overstocked, all right? Now, they're all pretty visible here. Well, 2 of them are. First of all, this tank is a jungle. Second of all, pothos. If we move these guys, you can look at our third little secret here. The floating plant army of red roots. And then there's your 2 other options, or not options, 2 other things you need to do, which are your water changes and cleaning your filter. So, basically, to keep an overstocked tank, what you need is a tank that, it's a good size, you've got the right fish that aren't going to become too big or get stunted or any of that stuff. So you need to create, you got your initial sort of basis of harmony. So you've got your tetras and your cories. Next thing you do, you cram that tank with plants that aren't super difficult, because these plants, because it's overstocked, they benefit from the nitrates produced from the fish, or rather the ammonia, which gets converted to nitrates through the nitrogen cycle in the fish tank. Oh, scared that cory there. So you get these easy plants, well, relatively easy. So you got crypts, java ferns, sword fern, jungle val, or corkscrew val rather, some rotala. You get all that in there, so you've got a really nice sort of balanced setup going on here, right? The fish are providing for the plants, and then that's the plants are sucking up those excess nitrates produced by the fish to grow bigger, which means you're having less nitrates, which means you can have more fish because, as I said, fish produce ammonia, which gets converted to nitrates. Nitrates aren't toxic to fish in small doses, but as it gets higher, they do become, an issue. It can lead to stunting, and it can lead to nitrate poisoning, which I actually lost 2 of my cories to, which is why you need to do constant water changes, as well as clean your filter every couple months to keep those nitrates low, especially if you have an overstocked tank. So if you've got a ton of plants and you're doing the water changes and filter cleanings, you're going to be able to keep an overstocked tank. However, there's the 2 other things I mentioned that will also help you with this even more. First is a pothos, or any sort of plant that can sit kind of I don't know what you would call this, but basically the roots will sit in the water and the leaves will poke out the top, and it will suck out the nitrates from the water, and that's how it grows so big. This thing has grown so much because I didn't do a water change for like 2 weeks, so it's sucked up all these nitrates. This isn't your only option. You can also use a spider plant. As far as I'm aware, I've seen it in a few videos on people's hang-on backs. Or a sweet potato. Of course, though, you need to kind of keep in mind the other aspects of your tank. I can't do a sweet potato in either of these because I have pond snails, which, you know, we can debate if they're helpful or not, but they will consume, I have tried once, they just consume the meat of the potato, and then it gets all mushy and then it dies. So that doesn't work. So basically your options are pothos, spider plant, if you don't have snails, sweet potato, and I'm sure there's other plants. I can put a few on screen maybe that are also viable options. Pothos is personally my favorite because it's cheap, you can find it anywhere, and if you want to do something else with it, you just snip a piece of it off and stick it somewhere else. I had 2 pothos plants, and from that I got that, there's some in the fish bowl, and what else? There was some in the Isoproject. Ooh, look at the Isoproject, guys. We're going to see that in a video pretty soon. And there's also some outside, there's some in a terrarium. The point is, it's a great plant, it grows, and it keeps those nitrates super low. So if you got if you've got heavily planted pothos, doing your water changes, doing your filter cleanings, you're going to have low nitrates. You're going to be able to keep your tank overstocked. The final little thing I'd like to say about plants is the floating plants, because first of all, they grow fast as heck, especially in the presence of a lot of nutrients, in this case nitrates. Look at that rotella growing on the top. But the other thing I'd like to say is, because this is a small tank, right? So there's only so much room for plants. I've pretty much taken up all the space I can with plants. So you add those floaters and you're taking up an area that otherwise you would not be able to populate with plants unless you're doing something super ugly like the 10-gallon. So basically in that way you're able to suck up more nitrates without compromising the sort of aesthetic or the look of your tank, which I really like about that. So this tank is pretty much everything you can do to keep it overstocked. If you're curious, this tank is, I'd say, based on the general definition of, like, you know, too many fish compared to the amount of gallons, this tank is overstocked. I have 20 fish in this 9-gallon, 7 black neons, 6 neon tetras, and 7 corydoras catfish. As I mentioned, 2 of them did die because I wasn't cleaning my filters, so that is an essential step. That's basically everything you need to know about keeping an overstocked tank. But another thing you need to keep in mind is creating the ideal environment for your fish. As I mentioned, you know, all these fish are very compatible with one another. They like to be sort of cramped in these situations, and the heavily planted tank, you know, it plays well to their, I don't know, personalities. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. But again, so like you can add some additional things. So for example, I've got leaf litter in here because cories and tetras are, well, for the most part, tetras are from South America, and what was I trying to say? Oh yeah, so what I'm trying to say there is that they have more acidic water. That's what their like natural environment is, and the addition of the leaf litter and stuff releases tannins, makes your tank a bit black water, and that's what these fish like. That helps to create the ideal environment for them. So if you've got cories or tetras, that sort of thing going on, add some leaf litter, make the tank somewhat black water, basically just play to the strength, if you will, of the fish. If you have swordtails, you know, make sure the water is hard, so add calcium to it. Basically just look up what that fish like needs, even to like the greatest extent of something that's probably not necessary. Do that and your tank will thrive in its overstocked state. That's why this tank is doing so well. And I'll probably make a fish cast later today so you guys can really appreciate this tank's beauty. Look at this tank. I love this tank. So yeah, that's kind of just how you keep an overstocked tank. It's not that hard. Again, you just got to keep in mind that, you know, your definition of overstocked. I mean, some people, I don't even know if I consider this overstocked, because by definition, I'm pretty sure an overstocked tank like cannot be successful, because it's like a negative term. It means there's too many fish, and clearly there ain't too many fish in here because it's doing fine. But that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, that's kind of it. Thank you so much for 71 subscribers, and I'm going to spend these last 2 minutes talking about what else is coming up. I kind of, you know, panned into this at the start of the video, and that was kind of to show off what else might be coming, but I went over here for a reason. We are redoing the Isoproject pretty soon. It's become a bit of a mess. Those mushrooms are pretty cool though. But yeah, that's gonna be revamped, and we are gonna be rescaping the 10-gallon. Ooh, that's gonna be fun. Got some interesting plants going on in here. I got some hornwort just floating. Got our anacris and our water wisteria. There's a ton of java ferns, and I've got this cool piece of wood back here that we're gonna kind of break up. And I think I'm gonna place this wood, or at least a piece of it actually, in here, kind of. And I think that'll kind of add to the black water naturalistic aesthetic that's perfect for these fish. We have freaking pond snail orgy up in here. Pond snails are not the key to keeping an overstocked tank, but they are helpful because overstocked means nitrates, which means algae. You can see there's a tiny bit here, and these guys do eat algae before they eat plants. So, I mean, I'd say definitely get a few snails if you're gonna go the quote-unquote kind of overstocked route. That's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed my little how-to tutorial of me talking while panning around my fish tank. Stay tuned for the rescaping of the 10-gallon and the Isoproject, as well as, I don't know, fish casts, stuff of the sort. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for 71 subscribers.